girl. I remember being a little girl, and I had a wild step in my twirl. Not much has changed since then, and I still like to sit and spin, and I begin again. Ha 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 ha. And I remember playing with my friends. We jumped on the trampoline till the sun did bend. In our neighborhood, that is where we stood. And I begin again. Ha 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 ha. And I remember a tequila sunrise in Mexico with a couple of Mexican guys. Never seen a sunrise so blue. Do you know what tequila can do? And I begin again. Ha 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 ha. And I had been talking to God, and one thing I had learned is we get to transform ourselves over and over again. Now here we go. I went to college for many, many years, and I was too smart to study without beers. Learning how to dance in a psychedelic trance, and I begin again. Ha 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 ha. And I remember traveling in Ireland. Dee 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 dee. The creamy stout, it taught me everything. Dee 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 dee. How to count sheep when you spin. In Doolin, Ireland, I begin again. Ha 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 ha. And I am right here now, in my presence. Observance of myself is my witness. It's good to know the stories grow, like Jack and the Beanstalk, you know. And I begin again. Ha 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 ha. And I have been talking to God, and one thing I have learned is we get to transform ourselves over and over again. Now here we go. Sugar plum fairies dancing in my shoes, twirling around like dancing, dancing fools. That will never stop. I shall never poop out. Now begin again. Ha 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 ha. You begin again. Ha 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 ha. We begin again. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Woo!
Wendy Ludlow.
Thank you.
Great songwriting, Wendy. Nice. I like positive message stuff.
Me too.
And I got a tequila down in Mexico myself.
Did you see the blue sunrise?
I don't remember what I saw, but I did have a good time. Nice. So we're going to be learning about Wendy, because I know very little about Wendy, but I know she's from New York City, originally from Texas. I know she's been out here 3 years, and that's all I know. We're going to find out a little bit more later in the show. But we have Coad and Callie Miller, and Callie is Coad's daughter, one of the daughters.
One of my two. And I have another daughter who is also hanging in the show that we're going to have.
Let's talk about your show. Go for the show
well,
first.
We have, I'm hanging a show called Two Generations with both my daughters, Callie and Kyle, and myself. We each have an area and different artworks up on the wall, but there are two generations of these.
Two generations. And this is at Tiny's.
This is at Tiny's. We've had a show. It's hanging right now, but we're going to add to it before a reopening because I was sick for my original opening.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, I was sicker than a dog with that flu that went around and nailed me. I was done.
And for people that aren't familiar with Coad Miller's work, Coad is probably the premier photographer for musicians in this town. And any gig that you're going out or any time you're out and about, Coad is out and about, usually multiple places every single night taking pictures of musicians. And I have some of his work at my house, Don Curry and J-Boy Adams he took, and just fantastic. He captures really the essence of a musician in there. Can you say something?
Well, in fact, I want to say that when his camera broke recently, all the musicians in town instantly got together to buy him a new camera because we love him so much.
It blew me away. I mean, this camera that I have right now.
Is that the camera?
This is the camera that was. I had taken almost a million images with the body of a Canon, and it died. It had shot its last picture at Tiny's one day.
How long did you have that?
I had that for 10 years.
Okay.
And it died, and I was like, what am I going to do? It's going to be 6 months before I can have enough money together to go buy its replacement. And within 10 days, this community that we live in bought me a new camera.
And Wendy and I were talking about that a little earlier before the show started about the community, because she moved from New York City, and this is just such a supportive, artistically, musically, everybody supports everybody that's got their creative thing going on.
Actually, there's a benefit this weekend. There's a benefit on Friday for Terry Deers.
Sunday
at Tumbleroot, right?
Sunday at Tumbleroot, starting at 5 o'clock. Terry Deers, who everybody should know if they're in the musical, because Terry is, besides a great artist too, he does all kinds of trout stuff and fish stuff, but he's also keyboard, guitar, songwriter, stone carver, just a great guy. And he had some medical expenses recently, I heard. And
well, he had a mini stroke, but just real quick, because this is amazing, he waited in a room to be seen for 8 hours, and he sang himself every song he knew. He had a stroke. He could not put words together. And by the end of 8 hours of singing all his songs, he was at 100%.
Wow, that's amazing. It's a different part of your brain that operates the song part than the other side of math and business and life. And real quick though, Callie, what's your work like? Come on.
Well, I do paintings and marker stuff.
Painting and markers, okay, yeah. Kind of abstract stuff. We have one piece, if you go to Artisan's Facebook page, we do video, and you can see the video of Coad's work and Callie's work. So how did you get into doing this?
I grew up surrounded by artists. My grandmother was a painter, and then my dad's a painter, and he put art supplies in front of me since I was a kid, and I went from there.
Very cool. Yeah,
I think it was in my blood a little bit. So.
How many? So let's describe the show a little bit. You said we have Coad's work all on metal.
No, I have paintings.
Okay.
Like the one behind me here.
Okay.
And landscape paintings and abstract paintings, plus photographs that are regular on paper, traditional landscapes.
Okay.
Some of them are abstracts, but then I have all my stuff on metal, which is again what you can see here on the Facebook page. It's large close-ups of people playing music on printed on metal, and I have 19 of them right now at Tiny's. I'd love that wall to finally have about 45 big people on it.
Wow.
All locals or people who have played at Tiny's.
So get down to Tiny's and look at Coad and Callie's show, and your other daughter, what's her name? Kyle.
And she has photography. She's a travel photographer. She has just been to Scotland. She put a few pieces of that show up. She has stuff from Japan. She has things from
Africa.
Well, we're going to talk about that when we come back, because we have to take a break. You're listening to ARTFusion, the art music radio show, Saturday at noon, Talk 1260 AM, KTRC, and 103.7 FM. Hang on, we'll be right back. Okay, good. We're going to get plugged in for the show, and Great songwriting from Wendy. Yeah, I like happy stuff.
Mr. Gabe.
Makes me want to go have an oatmeal stout, though, you know.
We're talking about sheep. I was just in the land of sheep in New Zealand. Wow. More sheep than people there. Wow. It's an actual statistic.
Really? More sheep than people?
That live there.
In New Zealand?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Permanent residents, not tourists.
That's my mom over there, and she went to New Zealand and said that it was like being in the United States in the 1940s or 1950s. It was like, you know, she loved it over there.
It's pristine over there. It hasn't been touched yet.
Yeah. It's definitely on my bucket list. Everything good, Danny?
Yeah, I was just adjusting this mic, so I don't
Okay.
have to drive it so hard. All right, we're good, man.
Okay. And we are back. You're listening to ARTFusion, the art music radio show, Saturday at noon, Talk 1260 AM KTRC and 103.7 FM Santa Fe News Talk Leader. We were talking with Coad and Callie Miller, and we're going to be back with them in just a few minutes, but we have Wendy Ludlow sitting here, and she's got a guitar on her knee, and she's got these cool cowboy boots on, and she's got this cool hair, and I bet she's got a cool song. What you got going on?
I've got a song called Cosmic Dame, better known as the Star Trek song. Star Trek song, probably my most popular song.
Star Trek.
Shame is a waste of time here on Earth, 'cause I'm a cosmic dame who knows Captain Kirk. This planet may go to hell, but me I'm not. I decided instead to become a psychonaut, become a psychonaut. Damn asteroids, I maneuver with class. Star Trek ain't got nothing on my ballast. Yeah, Mr. Spock told me how to exit the earth. You can come along, hold on and rebirth, hold on and rebirth. Learning how to be proud of who I am. Time in a bottle, my human right hand. But find me in the stars and I'll tell you what. Captain Kirk said I could turn the speed up to work, turn the speed up to work. Damn asteroids, I maneuver with class. Star Trek ain't got nothing on my ballast. Yeah, Mr. Spock told me how to exit the earth. You can come along, hold on and rebirth, hold on and rebirth. As an earth-edge dwelling soul, I'm telling you how my dream unfolds. Take me from all the hypocrisy. The Scotty say he beaming out you and me. Yeah, here we go, Scotty beaming out you and me. Damn asteroids, I maneuver with class. Star Trek ain't got nothing on my ballast. Yeah, Mr. Spock had told me how to exit the earth. You can come along, hold on and rebirth, hold on and rebirth. Shame is a waste of time here on Earth, 'cause I'm a cosmic dame who knows Captain Kirk. This planet may go to hell, but me, I'm not. I decided instead to become a psychonaut, become a psychonaut. I decided instead not to be a robot.
Woo! Wendy Ludlow. I am so glad Mr. Spock got in a song. He was like one of my favorites.
Right? No doubt.
I used to walk around spocking everybody on their shoulder, you know, trying to pass them out, you know. Anyway, I'm glad. Great songwriting,
Thank
Wendy.
you very much.
And we're going to be talking with Wendy just a little bit later in the show. We have Coad and Callie Miller here, and we were just starting to explore the show that they have at Tiny's. But I also want to mention for those that are just tuning in that there is a benefit for Terry Deers at Tumbleroot this Sunday from 5 to 11. And Terry is a great local musician, artist, and he has some medical expenses, and I think they're doing a silent auction, and there's going to be a bunch of players going over there, so.
Some amazing prizes.
Amazing prizes.
Auction,
okay.
Both, I don't know if Callie's going to do it, but I bet she does, but my younger daughter Kyle and myself both have donated pieces to the auction.
Nice.
'Cause that's what you do.
That's
great.
cool.
I donated a painting as well, so there you go.
So we're going to be talking because I didn't know you were an artist too, but this whole ARTFusion thing happened because so many of the visual artists that come in here are musicians and vice versa and all that. So
Great show.
very, very cool. Let's give a better idea of the show at Tiny's because you have. I want to talk a little bit because it's hanging now.
It's hanging now. We're going to make some more revisions in it before our show. We're going to do a new show on the 9th of February, which is a Sunday afternoon, which is when the jam happens there. And a lot of the pictures are taken at the jam that are on the wall, so I thought it might be an appropriate time to have the opening there.
Okay, during the jam.
During the jam.
Yeah.
The jam is run from 3 to 7, and we'll be there. I usually get there about 3:30. I bet there I'm at 3 that weekend.
And I got to give a shout out to JR and Tiny's because, man, I mean, Tiny's is like an institution, and I got to commend him for supporting so many musicians and the artists, letting you guys hang your show and hang your work. But JR also built a stage there. He's got sound equipment. And if you haven't been to that jam on Sunday, I hadn't been, but we have 2 people in the studio audience, Larry Diaz and Don Curry, and we happened to all get together, and there were some bongos there, and we had a friend visiting from Nashville, and just totally had a great time at that jam. It's happening. I mean, Sunday afternoon is totally happening. So.
Big party.
Yeah, yeah. What is your other daughter's work? That's hanging too?
That's hanging too, and she is color and black and white photography. She learned a little bit of that from me, not really though.
So she went off in her own direction?
And she is a nature photographer. She has pictures of lions and all sorts of crazy things, wild dogs, and she has a great picture of Paris. She has a bunch of different pictures from all over the world.
She traveled around the world getting these?
She has traveled extensively since she was in, I think even high school.
High school.
She got to go on one of these travel programs out of Santa Fe.
Okay.
She went to Japan with her college. She went to college in the Pacific Northwest, but she spent a semester in Japan. She was on the side of Mount Fuji.
Oh, wow.
She lived in Italy.
She lived in Italy for a semester.
So these are black and white photographs on aluminum like you do? Or
They're mostly color, a few black and whites, but they're on paper, matted up, and you know, the metal is an expensive way to go. I just love the way it looks in that place. So
okay.
A lot of my stuff in Tiny's is on the metal. I can't afford it all the time.
If you haven't seen Coad's work, I mean, he captures the essence of musicians. The pieces I've seen are color and black and white. Put them on metal. They're actually very reasonably priced too. Sometimes he doesn't have the prices on at Tiny's, but I'm always surprised when I ask the price because, like, you'd expect them to be more than they are. So I'm telling you, you can afford these things. Go down to Tiny's and buy one, buy two, buy a couple of them if you are so inclined.
I have like 5 targets in front of me. I have 5 people I've taken pictures of performing music sitting right here, right now. So yeah.
We love Coad. All the musicians love Coad. He's amazing.
Coad, how did you get into, let's quickly, how did you get into doing the musician part? Because obviously you had...
Well, I've been a photographer since I was 9.
Okay.
So I've been doing that for a long time, and I've always loved going to music. Since I was...
Just love music.
I love music. And when I was a kid, you couldn't really get your camera into the places, or you couldn't really take a picture because there wasn't enough light for film to get great results unless you're up on stage, and that's not where I could be.
Uh-huh.
I lived in New York, and it's really hard to get up on stage in New York to take pictures. But out here with the new digital equipment, I was finally able to take the pictures that I've always wanted to take at nighttime. And the newest camera that I just recently got blows me away with what I can capture in the dark.
Really?
I mean, the dark. It's crazy stuff.
It's funny, just ironically, we had David Michael Kennedy, who's a photographer, on last week, and he does platinum and palladium printing in the very old-fashioned dark room. I mean, he teaches classes up in Taos, and we started talking about how digital has changed everything, and it's cool to see that there's a place for both. And same way with art. I mean, we sell the pastels and the oil paint stuff, but we also acknowledge that the people are doing art on iPads and computers too. And it's kind of neat the way digital has opened up.
It's opened up a lot of things. To me, I was told by a great cinematographer, it's just another paintbrush in your quiver coat. You're a painter. Just consider it a different type of paintbrush.
Yeah.
It's no different, or a different paint.
Well, I hate saying this, but I never really got into photography till I had got my iPhone, and now with the iPhone, you can just do so much. You can, change the picture, exposures, color, all that stuff. So
I try not to do too much of that, but you can. It's an amazing world, the digital world. I just learned how to use the digital world as my darkroom.
Yeah.
I don't really go too much further than that. Don't need to. If I need to, I'll just take another picture. Or already do. My average workload is about 350 pictures a night when I go out and shoot.
We're talking with photographer Coad Miller. We have artist Kelly Miller, his daughter next. They have a show at Tiny's hanging now. I think February 9th. They're going to be rehanging it during the Sunday, the Jam. We have Wendy Ludlow, and we're going to be right back. Hang on. You're listening to ARTFusion, the Art Music Radio Show, Saturday at noon, Talk 1260 AM KTRC and 103.7 FM. We'll be right back.
How long did it take you to get that last radio station? No. Just like that.
How does it get?
He's been doing it for 30 years.
I wake up in the middle of the night.
And it happens.
Really, you sound like an auctioneer right there.
An auctioneer?
That's nice.
Well, parts of life get slow. I'll start auctioning this stuff off. Okay. Highest bid for that big easel out there. Okay. So much for that. Stick with my day job. Everything good, Danny?
So Wendy, you don't play this time. We're just going to talk, and you guys will jump in and ask questions.
We'll just figure out.
Sounds good.
That's going to be a challenge, I guess. Let's figure it out.
Let's see if you can.
Okay. Let's see. We'll figure out Wendy in 9 minutes. Okay. And we are back. You're listening to ARTFusion, the Art and Music Radio Show, Saturday at noon, Talk 1260 AM KTRC and 103.7 FM. I'm Ron Whitmore. Just a reminder, we record this live at Artisan on Thursdays at 11, the art supply store on Cerrillos Road. And we were talking with Coad Miller, who is known as the musician's photographer in town, and his daughter, Kelly, who they have a show up at Tiny's hanging right now. They're going to have a grand reopening hanging on February 9th during the afternoon when the jam is going on. But I have a new friend, Wendy Ludlow, and Wendy and I are Facebook friends, and I happen to be following her and noticed that she's playing out and writing songs, and she writes really cool, fun stuff. And that, besides, I know you're originally from Texas?
I grew up in Texas, born in Illinois, but from kindergarten through college, I was in Sherman, Texas.
Sherman, Texas.
That's right. It's north of Dallas.
I was going to ask that, Sherman.
It was 30,000 when I was little, but now it's like 150.
Oh.
It's kind of at the end of the Dallas suburb line to the north.
Okay. Still catches all the Dallas smog and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you went from there to New York City. New York City.
I lived in New York City for 22 years, had 2 children there. My ex-husband's still there, my very good friend, and that was long enough.
Uh-huh. Music, when did music enter your life?
Well, I was born to a jazz piano musician who played piano with me every day of my life until he died when I was 10.
How cool.
And that was like, I grew up, my grandfather put the extracurricular music program into the suburbs of Chicago. So when I was a little girl, I would hear jazz, stand-up bass, piano, my grandparents played. My ear was very well trained as a young child.
We were talking earlier, you actually play piano too.
I do.
Okay. When your songwriting, fun stuff, I mean, how does this happen?
Well, my guitar became my best friend when I went through my divorce, actually. And I used to sit in my kitchen in New York City, and I knew how to play piano, and I had a good ear. I knew nothing about the guitar, but I could find sounds. I couldn't read guitar music. So therefore, I just started writing my own songs.
As a catharsis in your divorce?
As a catharsis, as a way to process things. I'm a child therapist too, so I hear a lot of stories during the day, and it's always been a way to kind of process and try to garner out some positive message that you can. All of my songs tend to have some positive message in them.
Your child therapist, let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
You went to school, obviously.
I have a degree in clinical social work, and then I got a specialty in play therapy, and then I trained therapists in play therapy in New York City for 20 years.
Oh, okay. Play therapy, how to have fun with kids, or
Well,
how to
it's
play?
really a language. So if you're doing therapy with a child, how do you respond to them? How are you therapeutic with them? They don't talk like we do, right? They're littler. So they use toys and play for communication. So I teach a way of being with the child that is helping them to gain insight and to feel understood, and it helps the parent to understand their child.
Do you work in a private company, or
I
is
am
it state?
starting my private practice as we speak. Should be up and running by March. Right now, I'm a therapist at PMS. I had to pretty much start over when I came to Santa Fe.
Oh, okay.
Which has been interesting.
I think a lot of people with PMS need therapy, so.
Presbyterian Medical Services.
Okay, and let's get into your music, because you came from New York City and now you're in this little town of 85,000. How do you find the music scene out here?
What a gift. I mean, I was called to New Mexico, really, and I didn't know why. I was told there was a lot of children here that needed help. But when I got here, I had been writing songs in my basement in New York, but no one had ever really heard me. And so the community music scene, as we've said previously, just with open arms, pulled me in and supported me, and I kept writing, and here I am.
And where do you get out and play? What do you do?
I've been playing at the Tumbleroot open mic or in the Mineshaft open mic. I played my clarinet in the Theater of Death this past year for Joe West.
Oh, okay, nice. And we were talking about Joe West. He's bringing that show to the John Cocteau or Lindsay?
Yeah, the John Cocteau Theater. There's an ad on Facebook. If you want tickets, you better get them soon. They're going to sell out fast.
And I also need to give a plug to Stephanie Hatfield, because her and Bill Palmer helped produce this new CD that she has, and they're at the Jean Cocteau on Saturday night. And I don't know if you can still get tickets for it, but it's like $20 and you get her CD. And I listened to the CD, and it's a fantastic CD, and she's
great.
She's rocking it. And it's so good that like Jean Cocteau and these places like Tiny's step in and give the musicians a venue to be heard.
Right. I mean, the community of musicians is supported by the community of vendors and restaurants and bars. It's kind of and the dancers that come that follow the musicians. It's beyond anything I've seen, really.
And we were talking off the mic, Wendy and I, and besides her musical side, she has an artistic side, and I was telling her that's how this whole ARTFusion thing came, with so many of the customers that come into Artisan at the front counter that are visual artists are also musicians, and they play piano, guitar. Some of them are very accomplished. It's like a dual passion that they have. Talk about your visual art side, because I know nothing about it.
Well, I did photography in college. I love developing in the darkroom. I miss those days. Those were very peaceful times in the darkroom. Yeah, it is. It really is. And then I started doing marker drawings about 8-10 years ago, which is probably still my favorite thing to do.
Marker drawings?
Mm-hmm. And then,
messy.
Yeah, right? It's just so fun. And then I started painting. And there's tons of research now on painting and coloring being just as beneficial for you as meditation. For me, if I don't do some kind of art or creation every day, I don't sleep well. I don't feel good. It's a need. Do you guys experience
It's a release.
it that way? Yeah.
It's a creative release that you forget about the rest of the world for a minute or two or an hour or two or whatever, while you're painting or drawing, creating music. It doesn't matter. When I pick up the camera on a Sunday afternoon and start taking pictures of people, I don't pay any attention to most of what goes around me. I'm taking pictures.
Yep.
Yeah, you're just getting that zone, taking zone.
Yeah.
And I still do photography digitally, but nothing like Coad.
Oh, okay. Cool. Did you do darkroom? Did you go do the old-fashioned way too? Were you training all that?
I had a full color darkroom and I gave it away about 5 years ago.
So you're totally digital now.
I'm totally digital. I can go into the darkroom. In fact, if I do, I try to go and take a photography course out at the community college and use the community college darkroom because it's a great resource out there.
Callie, what was Coad's influence on you artistically growing up? Just
I mean, we just had art supplies around all the time, and he was always painting. Or we had a dark room in our house growing up.
We did
So-
a little bit.
Role model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coad actually had an art supply store years and years and
Years
years
ago.
ago. I guess
Yeah.
the family, yeah.
A place called Barney's Place in Greenwich, Connecticut. It was an art store that was in an old barn.
So you had like an unlimited amount of art supplies then for,
Well,
So did I. Growing up with them.
when I sold the store, I took a huge pile of art supplies. The people who bought the store said, well, all that stuff is partially used. I don't want it. I don't need that stuff. So I said, great, you don't get it.
yeah.
And I took it with me, and I still have pads and things left over from Barney's Place that I sold in 1984. I sold the store.
84 and you still have stuff left over.
I have some of the stuff too.
Wow. Wow. I
Gives
got,
you an idea how much he had left over from it.
Wendy, I got to go back to you real quick. What are you going to do with, you got fun stuff. You got a CD out? Are you doing any recording? Or?
I'm working on a CD. I record myself all of the time, but I should have a CD out by the summer.
Okay, you're going to do, are these fun songs like the kind that you've been singing or what?
They're all fun or have a message in some way. This next one is a slow song. I still think it's fun, but it's got kind of more of a powerful message behind it. More of a medicine song, I would call it.
A medicine song?
Yes.
Okay. You were talking about the catharsis thing. I've only done like one full album. It was called Anthology of a Mended Heart. And it was all like when I went through a divorce 23 years ago. It was like I kept playing and writing these songs, and they aren't always happy. Some were happy and cynical, and some were sad, and some were, you know.
Well, this will
kind of
it will be a great tie-in to the things that you just said, and it will just make sense on its own when you hear it.
We have Wendy Ludlow sitting next to me, and she's going to be playing another song in the next section. And we have Coad and Callie Miller. We're going to explore a little bit more about their art. You're listening to ARTFusion, the art music radio show, Saturday at noon, Talk 1260 AM KTRC. Hang on, we'll be right back.
Great.
Fast these sections go. No, that's a musician too. We should have just brought instruments. No, is that a jam?
We had a jam session.
That's 6 musicians. You all know that Ron plays too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Jake, do you know, plays?
We just met Jake. I just met Jake.
Yes.
We haven't
I
run.
never knew. Nice.
Okay. So this is the last section. So we'll come back and what would be a good subject?
Talk about New Zealand. We talk about.
She's grown up here all her life. She's now working in St.
Very exciting.
St.
My
Vincent's.
queen.
Victims. Did you say St. Victims? Yeah.
I see nurse here.
All right.
You don't want to see her on the job.
Let's, we didn't really explore that. Why don't we talk a little bit about that and your art and get you on a little bit more and then Sako, I'll look over at the clock and I'll know when there's 4 minutes and then you just take us on. And we are back. You're listening to ARTFusion, the art music radio show, Saturday at noon, Talk 1260 AM KTRC and 103.7 FM, Santa Fe News Talk Leader. Just a quick reminder, we have the website live, which is expoartisan.com. We do this huge event at Buffalo Thunder, which is September 25th. It's a 3 or 4 day event, depending. The vendor floor is open 3 days. We do workshops. We have 100 art workshops. They're 3 and 6 hour workshops taught by about 60 different instructors, some local, some come from all over the United States to teach here. We have 86 vendor booths of manufacturers selling art supplies. It's turned into the largest instructional and material art event in the world, and it's free to get in. And check out expoartisan.com. We're getting the workshops up really soon, but the website's live. You can see kind of what the event's about, and it's just a lot of art energy and a lot of fun.
It's a great time. I owned an art store for 10 plus years, and I went to a lot of the biggest events of the same type in New York City and all over the world. As an art store owner, I would go to these big conventions and they'd have all these booths and all. This is the same thing.
Yeah.
I saw you see this. I even met some of my original vendors when you had one of your first art expos. I came in and they're like people from Beat Paper. that sold me paper and remembered me, like, you're from Barney's place. And, yeah, hello.
Well, the art supply industry is actually a really cool industry.
Okay.
It's a lot. It's a small club, you know.
You run a great show. I'll say that
well,
much. It
well,
was
thank you.
really, really cool.
I appreciate that. We've been doing it since 2000, and actually it's a huge team effort. We have a whole team here that helps organize the workshops and all that kind of stuff. It takes a whole group of people a year to
You
do
have
it.
to. It's a huge, it's a great event.
Thank
all
you.
the teachers, all the supplies that are there, the deals that you can get. Oh my word! If you're an artist, you need to go to it.
Well, thank you. All right, Wendy's in. Wendy and Coad will be there, and Callie's right here. And Callie, we haven't really talked about. You do marker work, and talk about your artwork a little bit. How did you self-taught?
Self-taught, you know, I took art school or art classes in high school, and they pushed me straight to studio art because they said I didn't need to be an art one and all that.
You went to high school here?
I went to Santa Fe High School.
Okay.
Born and raised here.
Okay.
Let me just say, her marker art piece here is amazing. I never would have known that was markers. It's absolutely beautiful.
Kind of look like George O'Keeffe a little bit.
Absolutely.
Well, it's a little New Mexico based if you have a little influence.
What's the show at Tiny's? What are your pieces at Tiny's?
So I have some paintings there as well as marker drawings, and it's kind of, you know, the deadhead ram skulls and elk skulls, and then landscaping.
Is that what you call it?
Deadhead. Yeah,
Deadhead.
you know, like
Okay.
It's
Got
a
it.
beautiful skull.
yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
It's
I have
pretty
skulls
tall.
hanging in my living room.
Yeah.
I'm totally into it. Yeah.
And I started doing markers a while ago because it's just, you know, I always painted, and then I liked the markers as I could make it almost like watercolor without having to get messy with all the paints, because you don't always have time to sit down
With
pull
paint.
all the paint and, you know, markers.
Oh,
I can
yeah.
kind of just work on a little bit here and there, and it's I love it. So.
Well, markers have historically, I mean, we didn't even stock barely any markers back on Canyon Road days, but now we got multiple lines of markers and spray paint and all that kind of stuff, and that I think that's kind of a generational thing that a lot of the younger people are really into that.
Yeah, it's
and
catching on.
not that we don't still sell occasional soft pastels and oil paint, but hey, you know, things evolve.
Well, he had Prisma markers when I was growing up in the drawers, so I started messing with them.
So you found my
First,
markers
yeah.
early on.
I found them early.
How much time do you devote to your painting art? Because you're
Not
always
enough.
okay.
It comes in spurts where I'll paint a lot or I'll draw a bunch. I'm feeling I need to paint a couple paintings. I may see if I can get 2 paintings finished before the show.
The show is February 9th.
9th.
Is that when everybody's going to be present and
Well,
kind of the opening?
We're going to try to do another sort of soft opening, because I had an opening. We had an opening for the 3 of us 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, and I was sicker than a dog. Couldn't move for a week, so
You got that flu bug thing?
yeah, I was like done.
Okay.
It was so.
Round 2, we're gonna try it again.
So this show is at Tiny's. For those just tuning in, Tiny's. Some of it's hanging now, but on February 9th, you're going to have kind of a rehanging, reopening.
And we're actually going to hang. I'm going to hang a bunch of hearts. A leftover Valentine. I do hearts. I have done them forever. I'm going to have some cards and some paintings of hearts. Callie's going to do a bunch of flower paintings that she's working on right now.
Or drawings.
Drawings. So.
And then your other daughter has photography of animals and
Lions,
places
tigers,
she's
bears
been
of mine.
and all that. Okay.
Yeah, great stuff.
Well, everybody should be at Tiny's on February 9th, and this weekend, just a reminder for those tuning in, we have Terry Deer's benefit at Tumbleroot, which is Sunday night, and that starts at 5 o'clock, and that's going to have, I believe, art auction or silent auction and a benefit and a bunch of players getting up. And Stephanie Hatfield is going to be rocking the Jean Cocteau on Saturday, and that's at 8 o'clock. Tickets are $20, includes her new CD, which is fantastic. But we only have time for one more song, and I have Wendy Ludlow here, and this is a slower song that you're going to
This is I would call it a medicine song of sorts. It's called The Peace Wheel of Time.
The Peace Wheel of Time. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Once I threw plates down the stairs from this place. How time changes the grace steps one takes. Here in this house once again, I watch both my children grow in this house. My husband almost died in there while finding himself. I tried so hard, my God, to make it all work. Now I find all is settled from that time. Oh, hold me in the peace will of time. Hold me so hard it will bond. And it doesn't have to be this way or that. The peace wheel of time. The love we once shared in this home, still dancing around forever reborn. The remnants of love dared to transform. My son and daughter prove for sure. Oh, hold me in the peace wheel of time. Hold me so hard it will bond. And it doesn't have to be this way or that. The peace wheel of time. I used to write songs from this place, and once I prayed to never cry again from this space. How time it changes the grace steps one takes. Here in this house once again. Oh, hold me in the peace will time. Hold me so hard it will bond. And it doesn't have to be this way or that. The peace wheel of time. And it doesn't have to be this way or that. The peace wheel of time. The peace wheel of time.
Beautiful. Wendy Ludlow. Thank you, Wendy, so much for coming on
Thank you
the
so much.
show.
It's fun.
Thank you, Coad and Callie Miller.
Thank you.
Next week is kind of unique as we have Bill Palmer, who used to be at Frogville but does recording, and we have Lisa Carmen. So instead of having visual artists, we have two musicians. Lisa, for those of you who don't know, she was a musical force and still is in this town. She's coming back to do a songwriting workshop, but she moved to Montana, but she has been a songwriting force at voice lessons, worked at Candyman, just touched pretty much every musician, and I'm going to combine her with Bill Palmer, who's doing recording. Now he's doing mobile recording, not in Frogville anymore, his own company, and doing a fantastic job. So it should be a fun show with two musicians. We're just going to trade songs. You're listening to ARTFusion, the Art Music Radio Show, Saturday at noon, Talk 1260 DM KTRC and 103.7 FM. We'll be back next week.